All right, got my brother Juan David Mendez, all the way from Panama City, Panama.
Yes.
Like, we got to finish our conversation. We get gonna get to a chance to. I got to pick your brain with
Go ahead, I'm all yours.
with all the stuff. Well, some of the stuff you got in there, and we were talking about, like, the other day about intermittent fasting, you know, and just how when I was training for my TACFIT team leader test, you know, I had this inflammation, right, and to reduce that, I felt like, you know, well, that helped me. And so what's the process? Well, how does that happen? You know, you eat less when just even depending on the food, right? Eating bad, like sugars and stuff, I just totally get, like, messed up. So what happens? We were talking about blood sugar. So what happens with not eating, and then what happens with just eating bad with, like, inflammation?
The first thing we need to have clear, it's what's the goal. If the goal is purely weight loss, like if you're doing intermittent fasting for weight loss, there's no additional benefit versus any other caloric restricted diet. In the end, if you're looking for weight loss, it's about the calories, total calories. So if you're doing intermittent fasting, but in that feeding window, you're getting the same amount of calories you would have had otherwise, then what's the point? For weight loss purposes, you can still receive other benefits, and you'll have to go under a couple of adaptations in order to receive those benefits without suffering the drawbacks, the potential drawbacks from intermittent fasting. So that's one thing. If you're looking for weight loss, it's about the calories. So if eating in a reduced feeding window every day helps you eat less overall, then it's good for you for weight loss purposes. But not every people receive that benefit. Some people overfeed in that.
That allows me to not, you know, to get used to not being hungry. Like, I just drink water and I'm able to not eat, right, for a while. And that allows me to eat less. And when I do eat, like, I make sure I eat really good quality food, because I'm, like, so grateful, because I'm, you know, I don't eat that much. So when I do eat, whatever I eat like really good quality food. That's
the initial idea. Like, if, again, keeping in mind weight loss as the primary goal, if that's the goal, the idea is that, okay, instead of eating from 6 a.m. in the morning till 6 p.m. in the afternoon, or 6 to 8, whatever you want to call the feeding window that you normally have, let's say 6 to 6 for...
It's 12 hours.
Yeah. And for, like, to use, like, normal times, other people have dinner later, some people have breakfast at different times, etc. Let's just go 6 to 6, which is pretty common. 12 hours feeding window, 12 hours fasted windows. That should be the norm. That should be the norm, because if you're supposed to sleep 7 to 8 hours, and ideally you would have no foods in a 4-hour window before going to bed, ideally, to have a complete digestion and evacuation before going to bed, that's already 12 hours there that you should be fasting. So technically speaking, everyone should be doing a 12-12 intermittent fasting window. So taking that into consideration, you're saying, okay, I want to lose some weight.
Everybody should be doing that, right? As a
right.
general.
That will be like the textbook ideal. Now, if you're saying that you're having dinner at 6 and having breakfast at 6 in the morning, that means you're going to bed at 10 at night. So you're sleeping from 10 at night till between 5 and 6 in the morning. Now, it's very hard to wake up and start eating immediately. So if you're going to bed at 10 and you're sleeping 8 hours, you're waking up at 6. So you're actually having breakfast, if it's the first thing you do, between 7 and 8. So it's actually a 13-hour fasting and an 11-hour. My math is not working right now. An 11-hour, long couple of days, and an 11-hour feeding window. So that's already intermittent fasting, and that should be the norm. 13, 11, something like that. And we don't call that intermittent fasting,
right,
because that should be the normal feeding
right,
schedule.
Right.
If you follow the guidelines for like the best possible sleep quality, etc., etc. So taking that into consideration, you say, okay, I want to lose some weight. I'm just going to cut either my first or my last meal of the day. So if I'm a person that are more hungry, that's usually more hungry in the mornings, then I'll cut my dinner, because usually after a 3 p.m. snack, I can probably do without dinner. So I'll try cutting out dinner. So I'm gonna eat from 7 in the morning till 3 in the afternoon. So that's 5 hours in the morning plus 3. So my feeding window is only 8 hours now. And if I can adapt to that, then sure, I will lose some weight because I just removed one meal, but not changing the other meals. What happens when people do that a lot of times is they don't have that reason. It's like, okay, I'm just gonna drop dinner, but I'm going to continue eating the same things I'm used to eating for breakfast, snacking, and lunch. What people do is like, okay, I'm gonna remove dinner. Okay, so I can only eat from 7 till 3. And they reorganize their feeding and their meal events. That's not the idea, because then you have a larger breakfast. No, I'm not having dinner, so I'm having a larger breakfast. That's not how it works. If you have a larger breakfast and a larger lunch, then you're eating the same. Sometimes you're eating more. So like it'll have the opposite effect. You'll actually gain some weight. So if weight loss is the primary goal, it's all about the calories. So if removing a meal allows you to do the caloric restriction, then yes, it will help you lose weight. That's one aspect. Now, for inflammation purposes, the act of digestion and absorption, by definition, is stuff going inside your body. So by definition, you are in an inflammatory process because you're getting bigger. You're getting vasodilation. You're getting your stomach's getting bigger. Your intestine is getting bigger. So by definition, it's an inflammatory process. The whole digestion and absorption process, the feeding, digestion, and absorption. So if you're having that reduced, then yes, it has benefits to reduce inflammation. So it has a lot of application in some chronic diseases with an inflammatory agenda, like MS, fibromyalgia, etc. Some types of migraine also. So yes, it does have research and very well researched benefits as far as inflammation goes.
I never looked at it like that, right? You're getting inflamed when you eat because you're putting stuff inside. Yeah, by definition,
you're getting filled with stuff.
What about stress, right? Like Scott, like stress, like he makes his posts, like lowers testosterone, like cortisol and all those things, like, and makes you gain weight. Like I've watched some documentaries and, the monkeys, like they're all stressed out and they get like little bellies and, what
stress for sure, but stress has nothing to do with intermittent fasting.
Right. But it's a separpt thing. Just we were talking about weight loss and just, overall health, right? Too. But
yes, absolutely.
Just like you gain weight or gaining fat, right?
Stress can make you gain fat. Absolutely. And there's a well-known mechanism for that. And it has to do with hormones. Also, the quality and the type of foods you put inside your body can affect those hormones because the response to those foods have hormonal markers on them. For example, cortisol, it's well known as the stress hormone. When cortisol levels are elevated, muscle shuts down. So muscle defends itself by shutting down. So you're unable to bring nutrients into muscle. On the same token, since the body identifies itself in danger, because cortisol means stress, stress means something's not right, I need to adapt. Well, the body's an amazing thing in terms of adaptation for survival. But survival being understood, survival in this present moment, not longevity.
Longevity, yeah.
They're not the same thing as you already know, and Scott picks about that a lot, and we talk about that in TACFIT a lot. Longevity and survival are not the same thing. Sometimes they actually going in opposite directions. So the body is very well adaptable for survival. So if stress levels are high, it protects its bank account. What's the bank account? Fat stores. That's the body fat. That's the savings account. You don't want to use that. Muscle, that's cash. It's very, very easy to expend. Now, if you have a lot of cash flow, then yeah, sure, you can fill your pockets. You can have a lot of muscles. When everything's working fine, you have a lot of cash flow. So that's a good analogy to see how the body thinks about its stores. Because muscle is very expendable. You can spend it like this. And it's very hard to accumulate. Same thing with cash. You're usually not accumulating cash. You either take it to the bank and put it in the savings account, or you just spend it. It's in constant flow, or going into the bank. That's the same thing with the nutrients. It's very hard to direct the nutrition you're receiving towards muscle, towards cash. Your income rarely stays in cash. It usually goes to fat stores or it's expended. So it's burned out as energy. So when cortisol levels are high, you protect the bank account. You say, the situation's tough. I gotta protect my savings because I don't know if this is gonna get better. That's the body's reasoning to the hormonal response or the hormonal state of elevated cortisol levels. So there are a lot of mechanisms for the body to downregulate the cortisol levels. One of them is give the body something it enjoys. The
carbs.
The quickest thing that you can give your body that will downregulate cortisol levels in a fasted state is sugar. So give the body some sugar, be it in the form of any carbs or in easy digestible protein, because protein can get converted to sugar. So it's a slower process, but it still gets the job done, giving the body some protein. But yes, give the body some sugar, and that will bring cortisol down because sugar gets in, so insulin goes up, and insulin and cortisol are antagonistic hormones. Insulin opens the doors to both fat stores and muscle. It goes both ways. If you have the stimulus for muscle growth, by stimulus I mean exercise, then it will direct some nutrition to the muscles for them to grow, for them to repair and grow. If you don't have that stimulus, then it'll keep the energy in the blood flow, and if it's not used, if it's not utilized, some of it can be stored in the liver for not long-term storage, but short-term storage, like for tomorrow, like carb loading. And some of it can be stored intramuscularly, again, for short-term storage. But most of it, if you don't have the necessary stimulus to direct those nutrients to the muscles, they will go to the savings account. They will go to the fat stores. And that's just the way it works. The body wants to maintain balance.
So what are the hacks to get it used for, muscle and for it not to go to the savings account, to the fat?
There are a lot of things besides just exercise, and it's very interesting when you start to study human evolution and the different feeding schedules human beings have had throughout the ages, depending on their environment. Like, you have to go all the way back to our beginnings. Food was readily available, and we were nomads, we were gatherers, we were hunters, but food was there. Like animals were there, fruit was there, plants were there. We didn't have scarcity. So that's one thing. We didn't have to travel in order to get our food, but we had to work for it, either hunt or gather. We were hunter-gatherers, nomads. So that's one aspect of it. So you ate when you felt like eating. So you went by appetite, a very intuitive type of feeding. You just went by appetite. Oh, I'm getting hungry. I'll have some fruit to get some energy, to hunt something. And that's it. And I'll eat my hunt. And I'll eat and discard whatever I don't want to eat when I'm full. Very intuitive. Very primitive. Like animals. That's how animals work. Wild animals, they're not fat. They're never fat. A wild animal, if the anatomy of the animal is big, because that's the DNA of the animal, that's one thing. But animals do not get fat. If you say, oh no, this animal is fat, the wild boars are fat, but all the wild boars are exactly the same way. You don't have that wild boar is overeating. That never happens in nature. They have a very primal, very intuitive type of eating. Same thing with the baby. When a baby breastfeeds or bottle feeds or self-feeds, the baby never overeats. It has a very intuitive type of feeding, even if you make it go hungry. Same thing with animals. The animal might be 2 or 3 hours past its normal feeding time. It might be very hungry, like a hungry tiger or a hungry predator. When it catches the prey, it's not going to overeat. It will still only eat what it requires. Very intuitive, very connected to the normal functioning of the body. So we are coming from that, and we don't have to think about the hunter-gatherer human being. We just have to look at the babies. Like the babies come with that. Babies function like wild animals.
It's built in our genes.
They're completely intuitive. Now our environment shapes us. So the moment we stopped gathering our food and we stopped having to work for our food, because we were still gathering, but we stopped working to get our food with agriculture, technology for preservation, different means of preservation. It doesn't have to be the refrigerator. We have like salted, confit, in fact, there were several preservation mechanisms that the human started to develop because the evolution of the brain. It became easier to secure nourishment, to secure food. So that made us lazy, and that weakens our system. That weakens our connection because we are no longer putting it in practice. It's the same thing with movement. It's disuse. It's a maladaptation.
There it is, yeah.
Secondary to disuse. The same thing we're talking about sensory motor amnesia. Same thing happens with our feeding mechanisms. We stop using the intuitive way of feeding, we lose it. Now, in the current days, there's a whole ideology about intuitive eating and enjoy and put yourself in a calm environment. Now, yeah, that's true, and that's how we are originally set up. But in today's environment, that's like the practicality of that. Unless your mind is like truly into that application for weight loss, intuitive eating, it's like -0. Like it's useless. Intuitive eating for weight loss purposes in an obese individual or someone trying to lose weight, it's useless because they've gone beyond sensory motor amnesia. They've gone to the point, and I'm using the same terminology we use in movement. They're going to the fear reactivity. I don't have food. I have to lose weight. Whoa, that's fear, and you react. Same thing with muscle. The brain defends itself. So when it does have access to food, it's gonna kill that food. Like you're gonna binge. That's the way your body reacts to the threat of running out of food or to the threat of scarcity. And that's stronger than your mind understanding that for your health and longevity, you need to eat less. But your survival mechanisms are telling you and driving you in the opposite direction. They are telling you you need to eat.
So crazy.
You are in danger. It's amazing. And it's the same thing that happens with movement. It's the same way. The body has a set of mechanisms and a set of actions and reactions that occur, and adaptations. The body adapts to anything. So if you're trying to adapt yourself to an intermittent fasting or to a feeding schedule more strict than normal, by normal I mean 12-12 or 13-11 or even 14-10 is pretty normal. A feeding window of 10 and 14 hours of fasting, because not everyone has breakfast as soon as they would. So that's still like pretty normal. I wouldn't even consider that intermittent fasting. If you're not doing 16-8 or stricter, how do you say it?
Stricter, yeah.
Stricter. I wouldn't say you're doing intermittent fasting. I mean, you're just someone who eats less times in a day, and that's it. Because that's not even that strict. So if you have someone in the process of wanting to adapt to that for caloric restriction purposes, and you do it progressively, the body will adapt, as the body has adapted to everything else you have done in your life. The body is highly adaptable. Human beings are highly adaptable. So if you go step by step, like progressions in an exercise, be it weight, intensity, complexity, any variable, in this case, the variable is a shorter feeding window, and you get used to it. You stop eating 1 hour earlier, and then you push breakfast 1 hour further, and you just got 2 hours, and you do it progressively. Yes, anyone can adapt progressively. For some people, progression is slower. Same thing with exercise. Some people progress real fast and adapt real fast to the stimulus and to the change of variables. Some people adapt more slowly. Same thing with reducing your feeding window. You can adapt. Anyone can adapt. Some people can adapt faster. Some people can adapt slower. But anyone can adapt. We're highly adaptable. Up to the point that there's the Omad diet. 1 meal a day. People who only have 1 meal per day. Now,
I remember like Ronda Rousey, the fighter, you know,
Ronda Rousey.
Yeah, she was doing that like 1 meal a day thing.
Ashton Kutcher, I don't know if he still does it, but when it started to become popular, he was a big advocate and one of the big faces for the Omad diet.
What's it called? The Omid?
Omad, 1 meal a day. Yeah, the initials OMAD, 1 meal a day.
Okay.
The Omad diet. From a nutrition standpoint and from a health standpoint, it's not ideal, because when you think about what's optimal for human health in terms of what research and science and epidemiological studies have shown across centuries, is that you have some specific nutrient requirements that you need to meet to maximize health and longevity. Among those is fiber for healthy bowel movements and detox purposes and managing cholesterol and inflammation. If you're only eating 1 meal a day, it is not easy to get at least 20-25 grams of fiber. And some people, and there's some research that it might be optimal to go even higher in fiber than 20-25. So if you're only eating one meal a day, and you're supposed to get 20 or higher grams of fiber, that's gotta be tough on your stomach. It's very hard. What do you consider fiber? What is
fiber? You have the cereals, right? Oh, this has this fiber. But what's the actual fiber?
Fiber, it comes in 2 types. Fiber is non-digestible in the sense that it has to get out of our bodies. Fiber goes out of our bodies. It's composed of material that our bodies as human beings cannot digest and use for energy. Now, there's one type of fiber that's called soluble fiber, and there's another type of fiber that's called insoluble fiber. As the name implies, one can absorb water, that's soluble, the other one cannot. It's hydrophobic. So soluble fiber, in that process of rehydration, because fiber is dry, so in the process of rehydration, you do get some calories from it. You do leak some nutrients from that fibrous structure as it gelatinizes. So it's not 0 calorie. Insoluble fiber, it's 0 calories. So if you have cereal, for example, it's usually fortified with fiber. If it's a cereal marketed as good to lower cholesterol, then they will supplement it with soluble fiber, because it's the one that helps reabsorb cholesterol for you to excrete it, so it lowers the level. If it's marketed as just increasing fiber overall, good for your bowel movement, it's insoluble fiber, the one we're talking. So it doesn't matter the way you're getting that fiber. It's usually the skins and like the hard parts of fruits. It's the component of vegetables. Some have more, some have less. It's very abundant in beans and legumes.
Beans, okay.
Like lentils, red beans, kidney beans. Beans and legumes are like the biggest source of fiber, and fibrous vegetables. So that's the main thing. So you imagine like the amount of vegetables or the bowl of beans you would have to be eating to get 20 grams of fiber in one meal. That's crazy. Not only are you going to be super bloated, because most of that stuff is going to get fermented by bacteria in your colon, and you're going to produce a lot of gas. You're going to have a lot of pain for all that fiber, if you're getting enough. So what happens is that people that follow the Omad diet, it's almost impossible that they are getting enough fiber to optimize health and longevity. It doesn't mean they're unhealthy, but they are not optimizing health and longevity. If we're talking about like what's the ideal for health and longevity. So that's one point. The other one, it's getting enough vitamins and minerals that we are unable to produce or unable to absorb from our regular meals, which are mostly found in fruits and vegetables. When you think about a meal, you don't think about fruit being present in the meal. Fruit is usually something we have as an appetizer, as a dessert, as a snack. It's usually because you cannot put fruit in a salad or have it together. That's fine. Of course, there's exceptions, but it's usually not found in your dinner plate, so to speak. So it's usually a food group that gets left out. And by leaving it out, you're leaving a lot of nutrient potential. One of them, fiber. Another one, high quality hydration. The quality of the water present in fruit, it's the best quality of hydration you can get. Better than spring water. The hydration you receive from fruit, it's like top notch. From fruit. Yes.
Like watermelon, is that a good source?
Any fruit.
Any fruit. I always feel so good when I have watermelon.
Any fruit
when I'm thirsty.
Because watermelon's like 99.999% water. So yeah, it's mostly high quality water. Same thing with cucumber, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like those are like very mostly water. They have like 0 calories. You gotta spend more calories digesting than what you receive from eating. So yeah, the water from fruit, it's the best kind of water you have for hydration in your body. So that's one thing that's most likely getting discarded from your diet too. The other one is vegetables. Vegetables are very varied. So unless you're having like a super menu of vegetables in your dinner plate, unlikely, you might choose 1 or 2. But getting dark green leafy vegetables, getting orange or red vegetables, getting starchy vegetables, getting normal green vegetables. It's like, it's very hard to...
Why starchy vegetables?
They have specific...
Like a potato?
Like potatoes. Starchy vegetables and starchy fruits like bananas are one of the main sources of things like zinc, potassium, magnesium. Those are usually bound to amylose and amylopectin, the type of starch found in these starches. That's redundant. So when you drop those out, you're cutting the biggest source for some specific vitamins and minerals. So it's very hard to have a complete nutrition profile in one plate per day. So that's my point to avoid continuing rambling.
Longevity.
Yes, to avoid it's very hard, and that starts to dilate. That limitation starts to be less of a limitation the more feeding events you have in a day. So for optimizing nutrition, it's not ideal to reduce the feeding window past a certain time. So if it's going to be reduced to 2 meals a day, that's kind of tricky. I mean, it can work and you can make it so that you're still optimizing health and longevity, but it's still hard.
You can have snacks in between the 2 meals, right?
Well, then it's not longer 2 meals. Then you're having 3 because snacks are feedings too.
Yeah.
You might not consider them a meal because also I'm not sitting to eat, but they are still feeding events. And it's interesting that you brought that up. That's one of the main problems for people when they have unwanted weight gain. Oh, I don't eat anything. I have a salad for lunch. I don't have breakfast.
And some
My dinner is
donuts.
super light, but you're snacking the whole day. But they don't consider that feedings, and that's a huge problem. And I'm not exaggerating. A lot of people who snack all day have no idea that that's still food and it still has calories. I mean, they know those things have calories, but they don't understand that their excess calories that's causing their weight gain is coming from those foods. All they think about is like, I only eat salads. I don't even have the dressing on my salad. I have a light dinner. I have a light breakfast or no breakfast. I only have coffee. And they don't get it. And it amazes me. It's a whole world. It has benefits, intermittent fasting, mostly for inflammation purposes, because you're giving your system some rest, basically. Now,
And it regulates your blood sugar too, right? Like,
well, you're giving your body some rest,
Right.
so it doesn't have to mobilize blood sugar anymore. It can just go back to baseline, and that's it, and keep functioning at baseline level. That's why it's called baseline, because that's at the level the body functions without any additional input. Eating, digestion, that's input. So if you're digesting, blood sugar moves.
baseline, yeah.
It moves. But when you're at baseline,
It's balanced, right?
yeah, you function properly. So yeah, of course, blood sugar levels regulate while you're fasting, in the fasting state. The moment you eat, well, they will go up. That's the natural process. You eat, food gets converted. Unless you're doing ketogenic diet, blood sugar will go up. You produce insulin, and that's the cycle. But then after a couple of hours of fasting, you'll be back at baseline if you're healthy, unless you're diabetic or have insulin resistance. And yeah, you'll be for a longer period of time at baseline. And that's where the benefit from inflammation against inflammation comes. Now, the hormonal reports, like it increases testosterone levels. It is true when you pinpoint and extract the data, but it's not true when you look at the big picture. It's not like that overall your testosterone levels are higher and you're getting more stimulus, more internal stimulus from testosterone, meaning grow muscle, more vitality in men, or from growth hormone, so bigger muscle mass, stronger power output. It is not true, because during that period, they might be upregulated because of the lack of insulin in your bloodstream because you are fasted, so no insulin needed. If you produce insulin while you're fasted, you'll collapse. You'll get a hypoglycemia. Your blood sugar will go down and you pass away. So it's the same thing with inflammation. So since the body is not feeding, insulin is down. These are they are antagonistic in the sense that when one goes down, the other one goes up, but they are synergistic in their effect. Meaning when you have the necessary stimulus that increases the production of testosterone and growth hormone, meaning exercise, coupled with insulin, now that's the golden formula for muscle growth. Because these hormones are telling your body direct everything that comes into muscle tissue. The moment insulin kicks in, it registers this stimulus. Now this can go down. They already did their job. And insulin starts to drive everything into muscle tissue. Now insulin is down.
So they say after like bodybuilders and all that, like they like some complex carbs and protein.
Yeah, post-workout. It used to be common practice to think there was like an anabolic window post-workout. And it was talked about like 30 minutes post-workout.
Right.
It became very popular for you to take your protein shake to the gym.
Yeah.
I was like, I finished working out. I need to hit my anabolic. Now it's more understood how it really works. And it's been sort of identified that the anabolic windows come in clusters, in about 5-hour clusters. So as long as you're having enough protein within or every 5 hours, you're good as far as maximizing muscle growth. So even if you work out at 2 p.m. in the afternoon and your last meal was at 11 a.m., that still counts for your anabolic window after your exercise. And you can wait 1 or 2 hours post-exercise, and if you have protein, you'll be okay. Because both feedings are still within a 5-hour window with the workout in between. So and you're still maximizing muscle growth based on the exercise intensity you did. So now it's more understood that it's not as punctual the need for protein as it was thought before. The hormones keep doing their work for extended periods of time. On the same agenda, it's more and more being believed, based on research, that there is a protein cap, a protein limit you can absorb per anabolic 5-hour window. Again, these numbers are all approximations. And that limit has been identified more or less in about 40 grams of protein. So there are some people that are still like super proteinizing themselves, like 4 or 5 scoops of protein, and then they have lunch and it's all chicken breast, and it's like, yeah, all that protein is just giving your kidneys extra work, because your body is taking all of that nitrogen from the protein, and the moment you remove the nitrogen from the protein, it's just carbs. Like from a chemical standpoint, if to the protein molecule you remove, it's just carbs. You transform it in blood sugar, so you're just giving more work to your kidneys.
What's your schedule, like a daily schedule, like for eating and like your lifestyle?
I'm someone who likes to eat. Like, I love eating. On the same token, I am someone who, if I'm hungry, I have no limit. Like, my hunger supersedes anything. If I'm hungry, I will eat till there's no more food. Like that. So I know for me, it's very important to know my satiety windows. That being said,
what does that mean?
A satiety window?
Yeah.
How long after a meal? How long it takes for you to be hungry again? So if I have breakfast, let's say in my case at 4:30 in the morning, that's my breakfast. I know that it cannot pass more than 2 hours, 2.5 hours. I get hungry in about 2.5 hours post my last meal. So I'm usually eating every 2 hours. I never get to that point. I'm always ahead. Why? Usually 30 minutes, and that's the time frame I always use with my clients, because the hunger signal takes about 20 minutes to get to the brain once it's produced in the stomach and in the intestine. So once you're hungry, like real hunger, the real hunger signal, you know that you were actually needing food about 20 minutes ago. So you're already late. When you're hungry, you're already late to be feeding yourselves. I know if I get to that point, I'll overeat, or I won't be satisfied with what I have available to eat if it's my regular portion. So I'm very aware of my satiety windows depending on what I eat. And since I know myself so well in that department, because I'm a guinea pig. I'm the first guy. I try everything new or every change. I've tried it all as far as diets and popular stuff and fads go. I've experimented on myself, like every single one of them I can think of. So I know that if I wake up at 4, first thing I eat is fruit, and that has a specific purpose. We can delve into that if we have time. I can
tell me now. What's the fruit? Fruit, huh? You don't drink water first.
Yes, but water has no calories.
Right.
So yes, the first thing I do after I wake up, I go pee, I wash my face, and I drink some water.
Okay. Yeah.
Why? To rehydrate the air pipes, because they are dry from the night breathing. Everyone sleeps with their mouth open. I don't care what you tell me. I don't care who you are. Nobody.
What about if you get those? I bought the tape with the little hole. You know, you can buy it at CVS now at the pharmacies.
Yeah. Unless you use an external apparatus or have like your lips soon.
Sealed. No, but it's like a little sticker, right? You put over your lips.
No, that's just stupid. But if you're a normal individual who's
right. No, you sleep with your mouth
everyone
open.
sleeps with their mouth open. That's just the way it is. And just the gas exchange from the environment and the humidity you have in your throat, it dries out. So that's the first thing you do. You rehydrate your more so than for feeding, for breathing purposes, because the gas exchange happens better in a moistened environment. So that's the first thing. You drink some water. What's some water? One gulp.
1 cup. Yeah.
Not even one
gulp.
One gulp. That's it. Because all you want is to rehydrate this. You don't want to rehydrate your body. I mean, of course you want to do that, but it's not primordial that you do that.
But you just
drink one gulp.
One gulp, okay.
That's it. After that, the first thing I truly do is eat some fruit. Why? Remember when we were talking in the last podcast that I mentioned that when people get cravings in the afternoon, it's always sweets. And when they get cravings in the mornings, it's always salty or crunchy. It has to do with evolution and adaptation to your environment. What happens in the afternoon is that the body recognizes the sun going down. We were nomads. We have photoreceptors. We can identify the intensity of the sun and what time of the day it is. And what does that mean for us? So for a hunter-gatherer, for a nomad, sun going down means two things. Look for shelter and secure food. Shelter, you want to be away from predators and from the weather. Food, you want to survive. You need nourishment. So when the sun starts to go down, several things happen in the human body, and this is amazing. One of them is you get stronger. Growth hormone goes up, testosterone levels goes up. So if you want to maximize your workout potential, you want to have your strength session in the afternoons. Like right pre-dusk, when it just starts to go down the sun, but there's still light, because we function better with sunlight, but the hormonal response start to peak. That happens at around in a normal sun schedule. I know some places get dark very early and some places will get dark very late, but in a normal schedule, like in the equator in Panama, from sun up to at 6 and sundown at 6, between 3 to 4 p.m. That's like peak power and strength possibilities for you. So if you have the possibility of choosing your own schedules and you want to peak, that's where you want to have your strength training session, to be in accordance to your hormones and to maximize your hormonal potential based on your goals. What happens is that when that starts to happen, the body does a checkup. It has a checklist that it follows in order to ensure the possibility for survival. One of them is it remembers how the day started. So if the body remembers that it didn't have food available when the day started, it will make you extra aware of the need to find food. So how does that manifest? As a craving. And what does the body crave? Energy. What's the fastest energy source available in the environment? Sugar. So it's always sugar craving. Furthermore, the most important organ we have in our body, the most important tissue, to be more specific, that needs to be fed, because not all tissues are organs, but all tissues need nourishment. So the most important tissue that needs to be fed in the body is the brain. And the favorite food for the brain is sugar and vitamins. The only things that the brain truly need are sugar, vitamins, water. That's it. The brain does not accept anything else. If you go into ketosis on a ketogenic diet, then the brain will adapt as a survival mechanism to accept ketone bodies for survival purposes. But that's not the way is set up to work ideally. So the brain identifies a lack of nourishment first thing in the morning. It responds by telling you, get me some food. and that's a sugar craving. So if you want to remove sugar cravings from someone, this works.
That
like,
little hack.
This works like magic. Have fruit first thing in the morning.
What kind of fruit?
Any fruit.
Okay.
Every fruit is sugar, some fiber, water, vitamins. That's it. I mean, avocado is a fruit, and avocado is mostly fats. Yes, that's an exception. Coconut is a fruit, and coconut's mostly fat. Yes, those are exceptions, but those are usually not the fruits people are gonna eat first thing in the morning. Like, you get what I mean.
Yeah.
People will eat an apple, a banana, orange, mandarin, cantaloupe, watermelon, regular, normal fruit, what you would think of when you think about fruits. So if you have fruit first thing in the morning, you'll experience two things. One of them is, like an art of magic, suddenly sweet cravings in the afternoon disappeared. For a lot of people, only that little change can make a huge difference. Start the day with fruit, bye-bye sugar cravings in the afternoons. In the afternoons, it's amazing. You might still want to have some dessert after dinner, because that's a social thing for you. You are used to that after every feeding, you end up with something sweet. That's how do you call a habit? But it's not the word I'm looking for. It's just something you're used to doing. So your body knows that that's the normal routine. So it asks you to follow the routine. Body doesn't like change. Even though it's highly adaptable, the reason it adapts so well, it's because it hates change. So the moment you change something, it adapts and says, please, don't keep going, don't adapt, don't change anything else. The body hates change. So if you want to switch the routine, no, I'm not going to have any dessert. That's something different. That's a different issue. But the afternoon cravings,
that's cool.
They will disappear.
I remember back in the day, I would eat like a banana, something, and it would do good for me. I remember that.
Well, there's another benefit. Since fruit is the preferred food for the brain, if not everyone is, but if you're a coffee person, someone who depends on coffee and caffeine to get started, like you have like the caffeine addiction, you have the fruit before the coffee. And I can guarantee, and I put my name on this, like I can write that and put my name on that anywhere in the world. I don't care where you're listening from. You have fruit, 5-10 minutes, you're already awake. Haven't had your coffee yet, you are already awake and alert because your brain woke up. It's the comparison between waking up the natural, normal way. Your brain is like grazing. Oh, I just ate, I can function. Or the chemical way, you have some caffeine, it's like getting kicked in the butt. That's the difference. This is natural, this is
I've always been sensitive even since I was young for coffee, right? I'm just thinking about myself. but I do like, just for like social kind of things, coffee and
well, if you have coffee dependence, if you have caffeine addiction, you have the fruit, you will experience that without even noticing. It's like, what's going on? I'm awake and alert.
Yeah.
But yeah, since you have coffee addiction, half hour after, you're going to be all jittery and you'll be craving the caffeine. But it's interesting. You don't need the caffeine to wake up. You need it because you have a physical dependence on it, but not to wake up your brain. That happens from the fruit, not from the caffeine. And those two things, I guarantee you, will happen all the time. You wake up and sugar cravings.
So you wake up,
are gone.
Drink a gulp of water,
have some fruit, and then start preparing breakfast.
And you stay ahead before you're hungry. Like,
yes. The moment I have the fruit, I put the coffee machine on because I have coffee every morning. I make my breakfast. I make the baby's breakfast, so it's ready for when he's hungry, which is immediately after he wakes up. I want to eat. So you have to be ahead of the game. Otherwise, if you try to prepare like the eggs and the oatmeal and he's already awake, you're in for a hard time. So you always have to be ahead of your baby too. So I do all that. And after I'm done with everything, then I have my breakfast. That could be like 20-25 minutes after I had my fruit. So I have my breakfast. And after my breakfast, I drink my coffee. And then I get ready for my first class in the morning at 5:45 in the morning. I return from my class and I have a snack. Unless I'm training right away. If I'm training right away, I always do coffee pre-workout. It's well known that it maximizes performance. Not maximizes, but increases performance.
Yeah, right.
So I always have coffee before my workouts, or at least I try to. I'm used to that. And I always have a pre-workout snack. That is 100% proven that improves performance until you hit a caloric threshold. But training with food is 100% of the time better than training without food, as long as you don't go beyond your caloric digestive threshold, which is a misunderstood concept and a very poorly known concept. Very few people are aware of this phenomena in the digestive abilities of the body. There is an amount of calories, and this is very specific to every individual, that are needed for the digestive processes to take control of what's going on in the system. Digestion is controlled or is upregulated by the parasympathetic nervous system. So it's linked to rest because it draws blood from the limbs. So your performance goes down,
right?
Since you don't have blood flow readily available. So it's with digestion and rest and recovery. So that's parasympathetic. But in order for that to happen, like as an active process, there's a minimum amount of calories you need to meet. Let's use an example. Let's say for me, it's about 190 calories. So if my pre-workout snack is under 190 calories, I will not activate my digestive system, and I will still be able to move freely with full blood flow on the limbs. And that food that's sitting in my stomach and it's being digested passively will serve me to fuel my workout as I work out. And that's proven over time. Now,
and you've learned your threshold from trial and error.
There are some starting points, and from there you can train it slightly up, but it's mostly trial and error. After the starting point, which is pretty much 100% all the time, it works. I've never met someone in which the starting threshold doesn't work on. I've met people that have pushed it up like quite a bit, but I've never met anyone that has a lower one than the starting point. So it's pretty safe to assume that's the starting point for everyone, which is 10% of the calories you need to maintain weight. So in my case, for me, it's like 1,850 calories, so 1,850. If I eat that without accounting exercise, I will maintain my body weight. Of course, I exercise a lot, so I eat more than 2,000 calories. I eat about 2,200 calories. But my caloric digestive threshold is at about 190 calories. So when I have a pre-workout, I'm usually between the 130s and the 160s. I'm not even close to my threshold, but I've pushed it for research purposes on my own as a guinea pig, and I've seen that I can still perform at very high intensity eating 180 calories. So I know it's somewhere right above that number. I don't know, it might be above 2,000. I don't know. I haven't gone that far.
That's cool. Yeah, it's you knowing your threshold, right, of how much where you can.
And that's very useful because if you want to maximize performance, you cannot go beyond that number with your pre-workout snack. Some people have like a full meal pre-workout.
Yeah,
dude. Unless you're resting for at least an hour, you're setting yourself up for failure. You're drawing blood flow from your muscles. You want that blood flow to be irrigating your limbs. On the other end of the spectrum, when you have someone who's snacking all day, that can be potentially troublesome.
So, because I was going to ask you that, right? Like you're eating every so often, like every 2 hours, right? Kind of more or less.
I eat between 7 to 8 meals a day. Now, I love being in the kitchen. It's my passion, food and cooking and preparing meals. So it takes a lot of time, but it's something I enjoy. So for me, it works. One, because I love being in the kitchen and I love to eat different things. So by eating more times, I get to experience more things. If I eat only twice a day, then I won't have as varied. I would eat varied foods, but it will be over time. I like to eat different things every single day. Like I love food. It's my passion. Exercise and food, those are my passions, and I love food and I love to cook too. So for me, it's something that I enjoy. On the other hand, since I'm very active in my day, if I have a large meal, then the blood flow directs to the stomach and I will get sleepy. I cannot afford to be sleepy because I'm working with people and I'm thinking the entire time I'm awake. I'm always solving situations, be it working with a patient, coaching, working with someone with illness or chronic decisions, in meetings, brainstorming, or looking at my kid.
Yes, that's how you're able to keep your focus all day long.
So I cannot afford to go into food coma. So if I'm only eating twice a day, my meals are going to be quite large and I will get sleepy. That's one thing. On the other hand, it's uncomfortable being full and having to be showing exercises and moving with people and doing mobility. It's very uncomfortable. So for me, it's not ideal to have large meals. That being said, with the size of the meals I'm using, my satiety window is very small. So I have to eat many times per day. In my case, it works because I enjoy that. For some people, it might be, you know what? I'll just increase the size of my meals so my satiety window lengthens, grows. So instead of every 2.5 hours being hungry, maybe I can push it to 4 hours. That way I don't have to eat 7 times. I can get across by only eating 4 times. So 3 full meals and maybe a snack. So it depends on the individual. For me, it works. I eat 7 small meals.
Yeah, you don't have the time to eat that many times.
Yes, it takes a lot of time, but
you enjoy it.
I enjoy that process. And I prepare ahead. I enjoy it so much that I plan all my snacks, and I love that. So now that we're on the snacking subject, when we're talking about the person who's snacking all day and feels he hasn't eaten, it's because on one part, there's also a psychological and neurological aspect, but on one part, the body agrees with that person. The body is telling that person, dude, I haven't eaten all day. What do you mean you haven't eaten all day? You've been snacking all day. Yes, but every one of those snacks has been under my caloric digestive threshold. So for the body's sake, it hasn't identified the need to digest any food. It's been digesting all right, but passively. So if you don't activate the digestive system for reset purposes, the body hasn't been fed. So snacking under the caloric digestive threshold, the only thing that satiates is the masticatory craving, the actual act of chewing and biting into something. And that's it. Because once that food, that small amount of food goes into the body, blood flow stays the same. So the body doesn't recognize it has been fed, and it doesn't cancel the production of the feeding signal. So you will still get the feeding signal, and then you snack an apple, and you eat an apple, and the body's like, what's this, 60, 80 calories? Hungry.
So you stay at your threshold all day, and then you have a meal?
I stay above my threshold. Every time I eat, I always eat above my threshold.
Oh, you're above, okay.
Yes, because I want to cancel the hunger signal. If I stay below, I will get hungry around 2.5 hours post.
So you stay out of the food coma?
Yes. I don't go to the point where...
What's that called then? You said the threshold?
The caloric digestive threshold. It's the point in which blood flow is redirected. So you become parasympathetic dominant. So that's not ideal for performance.
Siesta time.
Yes. So it's not ideal for performance. Siesta time. Yeah, and if it's in a hamaca, mejor. So for working out, you stay below. You want to remain sympathetic dominant. So you stay below.
Or you want to keep working and not get sleepy.
So that food is passively digested and you work out. But for feeding purposes and satiety, you want to be above that threshold. You want the body to understand that you're being fed, so it doesn't produce the hunger signals. So if you are always ahead of your hunger signals, you're never hungry. And that's me. I never get hungry in my day-to-day because I know myself. So the only way for me to not have cravings and not overeat is to always be ahead of the game. And I've mapped my myself very, very accurately over the years. So I know when do I have to eat it, depending on what I just ate. And I'm always ahead of my hunger signals. So I'm never hungry. So I'm always happy with what I'm eating. It's like, you're not hungry right now, and I offer you anything. I offer you a cookie. And I was like, oh, cool, a cookie, nice. Or I offer you like a mozzarella stick. I was like, okay, can you eat it? Yeah, sure, I can eat the mozzarella stick. I'm not hungry, but you can still eat it. Now, you're hungry, and I give you a mozzarella stick. I was like, are you kidding me? Dude, give me the whole bag. Or where are the crackers? Give me an apple. Give me some prosciutto. Like, I need more than this, man.
Yeah.
It makes all the difference. You go to a restaurant, you're not hungry. You open the menu. You read the options, you pass the pages, you look at it, you look at the dessert list. Let's go. I'll have some ceviche or tuna tartare. Or just give me the fish, whatever fish, the catch of the day. Is it fresh? Or I'll have that one. I'll just have an appetizer. I'm not hungry. I mean, I can eat. We can always eat. Unless you're like super full, we can always eat. But it's the same because you're not hungry. That doesn't mean you will not enjoy it. You will enjoy what you're eating, but that's the whole point. You enjoy it because you eat something you like, but you eat a small portion and you're happy. And that will serve you for an additional 2-3 hours of satiety. Now, if you get to the restaurant hungry, it's like, bro, can you give me the bread basket and some olives? I haven't even looked at the menu. Yeah. And then I start opening the menu. So like, ooh, I want this for an appetizer, this for the entree, and I'm already looking at dessert. I have my eye on that chocolate cake.
Yeah, you already messed up.
Yeah, and you're setting yourself up for failure. It's amazing what small changes in the feeding schedule can do for a person based on the goals.
Man, you talk about the parasympathetic, and that made me think about like the vagus nerve, right? And
the vagus nerve also carries the hunger signals to the hypothalamus from the intestine.
Yeah, like the root, like the roots, like right. It's like goes through your neck, to your brain, neck to your stomach, right? All of your stomach, right?
Yes.
And so, like, who's the boss, right? Who's the boss of you, right? Like your stomach, like your all the digestion, actually, or your brain.
Nowadays, we say we have we have 4 brains. It's been said, but let's focus on 3. The other one's the reproductive brain. So let's focus on 3. The central nervous system. So the brain itself.
Yeah.
The other one is the stomach. So the feeding brain, and the other one is the colon, the colon. The microbiota we have in the colon, because that's the one that's been more and more studied lately in terms of disease prevention. Because I'm gonna invent the number. I feel like I should know the actual number, but like 71% of our immune system is located in the colon.
Interesting.
So it's been called the third brain of the body.
Huh.
Because more and more we're seeing that it's actually the one responsible for upregulating a lot of processes in the human body. So yeah, this is one brain. This is another brain. Well, the reproductive area is another brain.
Right.
But then the colon will be another brain too. But yeah, for sure, the stomach, that's the second brain. And when that one is screaming, this one obeys.
And just all the hormones get released, right, in that area, like the dopamine and everything else.
Yeah, because you have the kidneys, you have the liver, you have the pancreas, and the adrenal glands responsible for a lot of the hormones are right there on top of the kidneys. And then the pancreas, it's a feeding organ. So like the main hormone secreting organs are in that area. So that's the brain of its own, and it takes precedence strongly when it's angry. Yeah. Like the other ones, you can suppress them. That one's hard. Now, of course, if you're very committed, if you're very motivated, that level of motivation and commitment can supersede any signal in the body. And that's when the mind comes in. Even though it's weak, it can be the strongest.
Man, when you're talking about the colon being a brain, I couldn't help but think about a friend of mine that had colon cancer. He was a fighter, and he cured himself with Gerson therapy. Have you heard of that?
It's vegan juicing, yes.
All day juicing and enemas, coffee enemas.
Right. A lot of hydration, a lot of high quality hydration from juicing but a lot of discharging from the enemas.
Discharging, yeah.
Because you don't want all that to stay there. What you're trying to maximize is exchange. You're flushing, but flushing with high quality flush. It's not like I'm just throwing water so it flushes out. No, I'm throwing like the highest quality water there is, but I want the flush. So you're stimulating, like flushing all those toxins, everything you don't want. I'm just flushing, and if anything stays behind, I want it to be the highest quality possible. So it's a vegan diet, which is the highest vitamin and mineral diet you can do. A high fiber diet, so also absorbing a lot of toxins and material you don't want, because fiber is very important for excretion of toxins and what such. And you do the enemas to flush. So yeah, it's still anecdotal. It's not hard evidence, but it makes sense. The thing is, for us to be able to say it's science, we need to be able to replicate, and it needs to be through every time we test it. That's the thing with my
friends, they bought a hospital, the original Gerson, I think, hospital Chipsa.
Okay.
It's in like Tijuana, Mexico. And they help all kinds of, it's a mix. Whatever works. And they started with one of the guys. His mom had cancer, and a lot of the treatments weren't like, they couldn't do it in the U.S. And so in Mexico they could do it.
It's considered alternative medicine. Insurance wouldn't cover it. Doctors are not going to practice it, because if they get sued, there's no way I'm putting my name on that.
Right. But I was listening, and it seems like most people don't have the discipline to actually do the juicing and to do all the enemas.
Depends on your level of commitment.
Right.
If you recognize, or if you believe like you've tried everything there is, this is the only chance I have to save my life. But
even so, right, it just people's, and so he was a fighter, and so he understood discipline.
He has the discipline.
And he put everything out of, make sure his family helped him out, so he only focused on that. And he's able to do it, by himself. But now, people go to that hospital.
It makes you think. Now that you mentioned that, the power of the mind is so amazing that it makes you think: was he healed because of the diet, because the dietary intervention, or because of his will to heal, and that was his life. Like, he set himself for healing. Like, everything around him changed.
Yeah, I think both, right? Both.
Right. I would say both had a positive effect.
Right.
Because the mind, it's the first thing that has the ability to make commands. So if the brain tells an organ, rearrange, that's what we do with FlowFed.
Yeah.
We create new pathways. We rearrange neural pathways. It's the same thing with cognitive behavioral therapy. You rearrange thoughts the way the thought process cascades into a non-desirable conduct. It's the same thing. You can rewire, you can refire, and if the brain decides, the thing is, the brain usually doesn't make these sort of decisions. Who are we to say that the brain cannot command the body, hey, start producing healing stuff, start to reproduce, like neurons start reproduce again, which is something like we're starting to see the possibility for them to reproduce. Who are we to say the brain doesn't have that power if it's focused enough?
For me, right, was with TACFIT, right? I believed in Scott's story.
Right.
I believed in Scott's story. I believed in him, and because everything he told me, it worked.
Right. We don't know if it's placebo. If it's placebo, it works for me too.
I mean, and everybody else that we do it on, right? It works.
Yeah.
Right?
I haven't met anyone who doesn't work. So it's a very strong placebo. If that's all there is. But I know it's not placebo because it's reproducible. So it follows the scientific method. So for me, it's science. Now it's still growing, and we're still, every time we keep learning.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing with nutrition. So for me, like, both worlds are different, are complementary.
Scott said a quote one time.
Same.
I think he talked to me. He's like, yeah, it's not science based. It is science.
Right. I see it as science. Like, the way I see exercise, the way I see TACFIT, I see it as science. Like, I've said it many times. The reason I I continued doing TACFIT after I gave it a shot was because I said, this is the application of everything science has taught me in the exercise physiology world. Like I had a library of knowledge and an availability of more knowledge in the scientific world, in the scientific community, but no way of applying it in a way that promoted increases in performance, which is what every athlete's looking for, but also in health and longevity. Like every intervention available in the fitness industry decreases longevity. And that wasn't good enough for me. I wasn't satisfied with that option. So I was looking for, and I found TACFIT. There it is. That's the answer.
The application of all the things you studied, like, you know,
The
you
guy
can talk about it,
figured
you
it
can look at the book, but you doing it and then getting the changes if you just do it.
The guy figured it out. It's amazing how he came up with this stuff. He figured it out. That's
25-year anniversary, right?
And it's remained unchanged. Nothing has changed. The same principles he came up with 25 years ago, they still apply, and they are still decades ahead of everyone else in the game. It's crazy amazing. Like, it blows my mind every time. Even when I'm teaching it, like in the certs, while I was talking and giving the lectures, I was like, I'm saying all this stuff and I understand it, but these aren't my ideas. Like, this guy came up with this stuff 25 years ago. And it still blows my mind. And when people listen it, they're like, wow, this is cutting edge. Dude, this stuff.
Crazy, right?
It seems like cutting edge fitness and health technology. He came up with this stuff 25 years ago, and it's still ahead of the game. It
blows my mind too. It blows my mind
every single time. It's amazing. It is.
But like the but changing that and spread the system so more and more people can change their lives with the system, live a better life.
That's what we try to do. That's what we try to do. I mean, this is the era to do that. Everyone's connected. We're talking here. We don't know if someone like in the other part of the world is going to listen to this conversation and was like, what's that TACFIT stuff? I'm going to give it a try.
25 years ago, right? Because the technology didn't exist, right? To say it's science, right?
Right.
He's a quack. He's crazy. Like some of the old forms, and you look at the things,
Right.
And now because of the technology we have, it is, it's science, and it's really crazy because it's still ahead.
People in the industry still see him like, that's a weird guy. We don't like him. He's fat. He's all fads and stuff.
Fads, yeah.
And ideologies, dude. He figured it out. I don't know how he did it, but he figured it out.
Yeah, like all the neuroscience, it's crazy. Just like the qual, for example, right? Yes. And the test, like your head positioning, like just every piece.
How much components are a masterpiece. Like the breath mastery scale, it's a masterpiece. Like everything, it's
crazy.
It's crazy. Now that I'm having to actively teach that, it's crazy. It's crazy.
Residual tension, myofascial density, motor amnesia, fear activity.
Right, the formal adaptation.
And now you're talking about like the same thing in nutrition and eating.
Like applying TACFIT in my fitness life upped my game in nutrition, because it allowed me to understand a lot of phenomena that I was seeing in medical nutritional therapy or just in feeding behaviors that I could observe and I could identify, but I could not fully understand or react to those or use to my advantage. But now seeing similar phenomenon being applied in the fitness world and in the health movement environment has given me tools to apply also in nutrition environment, because I understand the same mechanism. So I can just apply that same mechanism, that same formula to this, and it works again. So there you go. It's science. It's reproducible across different branches.
It's crazy.
It's amazing.
Crazy.
It's amazing.
Well, thank you for your knowledge and your time and your belief and the work you did this week and that you've done and been doing, you know, for years now, and helping others around the world with TACFIT locally. Of course, all your, you know, your nutrition and diet work that you do locally. Just thank you for inspiring me and helping so many people around the world, you know, live a better life through TACFIT and, you know, all your experience and knowledge that you have. I really appreciate it. Appreciate your friendship and so it's great. It's been, you know, amazing such a pleasure to just get to know you more and more each time. And yeah, amazing week. Really amazing week. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure. It's been an honor. It's very hard to get me here. So for me, it's a huge honor for you foremost to think about me and to do what needs to be done to bring me here. So for me, that's very humbling. Like, I'm a guy from Panama. Like, I have a 7-hour flight ahead of me. It's like I'm from far away.
Away from your family and your work, yes, and you believe in it so much that you're like, I'm going out because I believe in this.
And it means a lot that the United States team thought about me to bring me here. That means a lot. Like, because I'm not the one that you would think of like, okay, let's go seek someone in Panama. You don't do that. So for me, that means a lot. And it's been an honor and a pleasure. And again, to be here, I can ramble about all the topics I believe in. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.